a lot of times I'll get parents that will message me, well, Gretchen, I have been explaining to my 2-year-old for weeks now that we don't bite. Yes, I see you. I think what your intention is great, but words don't teach. Not to our littles. That's just talk therapy. They don't hear that. What they hear is play. Their language is play. Their language is, when we're connecting with them.
Welcome to Transforming the Toddler Years, the podcast for conscious parents, caregivers, and educators who believe tantrums aren't terrible. They are powerful opportunities for connection, growth, and learning during the first 5 years. You'll explore how to use intentional language to raise calm, confident, and deeply connected kids, because the way we talk to kids becomes how they see themselves and engage with the world. Hi, I'm your host, Cara Terrell, classroom teacher turned parent educator and teacher trainer. Are you ready to nurture your children's mind, body, and spirit? Welcome, Toddler Tribe. Let's transform the toddler years together. Welcome back, Toddler Tribe. Have you ever thought of your child's brain as a parking lot? Probably not. Well, Gretchen Camp joins us again, and today she's going to share her Park the Skill. And this is a concept that she has designed to help you understand the different skill sets that your child needs to learn at an early age and where they get parked in the brain. If you didn't catch the first part of her episode, then maybe you want to go back and to listen to that first to really ground yourself into who she is and the way she believes that the toddler years are a great opportunity for teachability, just like we do. But if you're ready to dive in and learn how to park the skill in your child's brain, then enjoy this episode. Gretchen, welcome back to the show. Today we're talking all about the toddler brain, and I'm so excited.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about this. This is my wheelhouse. This is my jam. I love it. It's so good.
Yes.
So good for parents.
So if you're tapping into this episode and Gretchen isn't not a familiar name to you, then you missed an episode. So you should go back and listen to Gretchen's first episode with us, which was more about the psychological components of parenting in this day, in this age, how we choose with intention. And that'll ground you to get ready for this more academic conversation. So this idea that we are the architect of our children's brain during the first 3 to 5 years of their life is being talked about more and more and more, specifically in teacher academic circles. But parents are starting to key into this is real too.
Absolutely. There's so many good organizations like the 0 to 3, and there's so much information that's starting, like you said, it used to be just for teachers. And now we have such a culture of parenting where it's like, well, hold on, I want to know about this too. Like, this affects me. I like to talk about a 3-legged stool. It's always going to be our children. It's always going to be the professional in their life, whether it's a teacher or a program director or a daycare provider. And then there's always parents. And I believe that the children and the teacher leg are pretty strong with supports and resources and trainings. It's that parent leg that tends to be a little wobbly. And I think we're starting to head in the right direction with more parent empowerment, more parent resources, not just handouts and milestones, but real information that parents are like, oh, wait a second, that's what that's for? I get it. Like, this makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also feel like it can be overwhelming. Like, we're teachers. And so when people say to us, here, let's crack the hood on a tiny toddler brain and let's talk about the neuroscience and let's look at like the cause and effect in the brain. We're all about it. We're like, where's the textbook? Tell me what you
sign
want.
up.
Like, I'm in it. When I have those conversations or I start those conversations with parents, they go, first of all, it's shock. Like, wait a minute, that's all happening behind this beautiful face invisibly. And like everything I say affects it and everything I do affects it. And I'm not sure I'm qualified anymore. Like there's a fear that comes after the shock that says, this is a way bigger job than I thought it was. How do I know if I'm doing it right?
Well, you said something really interesting that I feel that a lot of parents say to me, but I'm not a teacher. I don't know how do I teach this to my kids? You just need to take those classes. You are a teacher. You will always be your child's first teacher. You don't have to have any type of degree or, book that gives you that. And I think sometimes that paralyzes parents because they think they have to do it a certain way and they have to teach it all. And okay, but how do I do this? And I have to teach. And I think that when you said that, it just really is, yes, we are our child's first teacher, but not always in the way that we think we have to be.
Ooh, all right. Now we're going to get to the good stuff because, yes, parents think that if they take on role of teacher, then that means that they are teaching their children skills. But the version of skills that I hear prioritized are the cognitive skills, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, colors, numbers. And I said in our last episode, I feel like parents are just sold such a rotten bill of goods. And in this, it's identical to this because they think they're doing what they need to do to set their child up for future success. But that's actually, of the 4 readiness skills, it's the one that we should focus on.
Because if you don't have the other ones, it doesn't matter. The academics will always come. I'd never met a 10-year-old that doesn't know 1 + 1, or can't identify a shape.
Right.
My perception and my understanding and the way that I've come to understand the lens of parenting is it's just outdated. We've moved forward in our parenting. So, we think back in the early 1920s, 1950s, it was all about control. We had to control our kids. We had to manage the moment. If they cried, we were viewed as bad parents. And then we fast forward and, now, yes, we understand that they're emotional beings and we understand the importance through gentle parenting that, yes, we need to be calm and regulate. But that's not the whole part. Parents are left off, okay, well, I'm calm, but now what am I supposed to do? I know I'll teach ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. And so we're moving in the right direction. It's just going a little bit slower than I think our children are needing.
Absolutely. Wow, there's a nice little fly that's joining our podcast today. Okay, Toddler Tribe, I'm going to get you back to this episode in just a minute because my guests are awesome, aren't they? Just love it. But first, I have a question for you. Do you know the difference between conscious discipline and collaborative discipline? I have a 4 C's of collaborative discipline model, and I would love for you to grab it. It's totally a free resource. Just hit the download button in the show notes, and you'll get a graphic that you can print that walks you through the 4 steps of working with your little people, connecting and communicating, collaborating, and then compromising. Grab it today and get started shunning all of those pesky power struggles and working with your little people to create collaborative solutions instead. So what I love is because there's programs out there that teach the regulation, right? And those are the conscious pieces, the me, how do I show up? And you have this thing called Park the Skill, but it's a brain-based. So we're not talking about ABCs and 1, 2, 3s here. What other skills need to be built in the brain?
Oh, well, I'm so glad you asked. I love this. I basically reverse engineered my years in the classroom. So what I kept seeing happen in the classroom year after year were just wonderful families of all backgrounds, well-intentioned. Kids are coming to school and they can write their name, but my goodness, they couldn't ask for help if they needed to. had trouble separating. They could not problem solve, couldn't figure out how to get a backpack on, and then didn't know how to even ask for someone to get a backpack on. And so I started talking to parents and really understood what was going on. And parents were like, well, Gretchen, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know I was supposed to teach potty training. I thought you were going to do that. Or I didn't know I was supposed to problem solving. Like, what is that? Wait, what? Confidence? Independent? I don't know how to do all this. So I reverse engineered my years of experience with parents. And so what I developed is something called Park the Skill. And what it is we need to imagine that our children's brain is just a giant parking lot. So when they're born, the parking lot is empty. And every little thing we do with repetition, because what fires together wires together. We know that about the brain. And so that's kind of how habits form, and we get grooves in the brain. And, that's how habits start to show up and our life patterns become ingrained in us. So I developed something called can-do skills. And I like to think of can-do skills as I can be independent. I can be a problem solver. I can handle my big emotions. And so what we do as parents is what I teach is through play, nothing fancy, parents. It's nothing fancy. It's the toys we have in 10 minutes a day. And we teach our children how to build these skills and wire them in the brain. And it takes connection and repetition and practice. And so when you do that, what happens is when they're a baby and you start reading the same book repetitively, it starts to create a parking spot in the brain. So now they're like 1 and they're 18 months. And now we're starting to, now we've got some we've got some lines in our spaces. And then when we get to be toddlers, we have signs. We have parking signs, assigned parking. So for example, one of them might be emotional regulation. So you think your toddler is hitting to be naughty. When you want to grab their hand, we don't hit. Well, what happens is their body starts to feel dysregulated. And so what happens is their brain sends out the hitting car. And that hitting car is just going, it doesn't know where to park because it's never learned where to park. But when you stop it by saying, we don't hit, and you take their hand, well, now the car is just left in the lot. It hasn't parked anywhere because we haven't taught them to park it into the space of emotional regulation. And we do that consistently through play and connection. And that's how it gets wired into our toddler's brain. And it goes for all the skills. And so that's why if we aren't intentional in the toddler years to park those skills, the lot gets jammed up. And then that's why we have first graders and second graders and teenagers. And the brain is this wonderful, wonderful thing that has neuroplasticity. So we can rewire and remold, but we got to clean up those cars now because the lot's all jammed up. And so we do that by forming new patterns and new behaviors. So I love talking about this because while it sounds like fancy, it's so simple. And it's just how all of our brains learn and are wired.
Yeah, it really is the most complicated, simple thing on the planet. It really is. And it's why in a lot of the pedagogies, less is more, right? Less toys
absolutely
equals more attention and more creation and more imagination. And we want to be turning the brain on instead of clogging it up. In my research for the book, I had such a great time exploring this idea that dysregulated kids are not available to learn, and that learning happens in a different part of the brain. It's a very specific parking lot where learning happens. And to access it, all those other parking spots, to use your analogy, have to be met and filled. And so, last time we talked about the fact that society right now is still very much in a heightened state of anxiety and lashing out in survival mode and fear. And from those places, learning is hard.
Very hard. Which then it creates a loop. So learning is hard, and because it's hard and we don't have the skills, then we act out, and then we have behaviors, and then that just puts up more walls, more bricks, and it's just this cycle that just becomes harder to get out of because now it's becoming a pattern.
Yes,
And a
I call
habit.
it. I call it the trigger trap reaction cycle.
That
We
triggered,
just, the child
It is.
triggers us, we trigger the child, and then we're off to the races. So how do you, through play, can you give us one example of just a calm, engaging play moment where a parent would be thinking about the skill they want to teach, but then doing it at the child's level with the toys the child has chosen?
I really am so happy you brought this up, because as I've been doing the work and learning how children learn, what's interesting is I will have parents that say, Gretchen, how do I, so my toddler is throwing their food. How do I get them? I need to know how. Just tell me exactly how I teach them not to do this. Like, okay, well, we have skills. Everything, behaviors, communication. And behind every behavior, we're just having a skill that's under construction. So the beautiful thing about play and the beautiful thing about what I teach is using the toys you have in 10 minutes a day. Your child really does it all. You really show up with just a quiet space with 10 minutes and toys you already have. And I created something called the 7 pillars for play, which are the 7 different types of toys that children need exposure to. You probably, most likely, I'm almost going to guarantee you have them in your home. So, for example, one of the pillars is pretend. And it's sitting for 10 minutes with your child and you're playing pretend. That's it. They lead. It's always about child-led play. That's the other beautiful thing. We think it has to be complicated. We think it has to be hard. We hear the word emotional regulation and we think, oh my gosh, okay, there is just no way I'm going to be able to do this. But the magic happens when you put away your phone, you turn off the TV, you just maybe have some quiet music in the background, you've got a baby doll or a puppet, and you're playing pretend kitchen. And oh no, we're having troubles getting the baby doll dressed. And so now we're feeling a little bit of frustration. And in the moment, you're just saying, oh my goodness, how do you think we can get this on our baby doll? We know what to say. It's inside of us. We don't need fancy scripts. We just need to think about how we would approach it as an adult. And then we just say it to our little ones. So it's never really hard. It's just taking off that lens of they're naughty, they're bad, and now I got to teach and I got to make it real. I have to make sure that they are going to learn this. And really, it's just 10 minutes a day of just focusing and being intentional and asking them and not doing it for them. It's asking them, let them lead. How do you think or how do you feel or what should we? Or it's knowing blocks is another pillar for play. Blocks. It's knowing the tower. If they put that next block up, that tower is going to collapse. And oh my goodness, maybe they're going to throw a block or they're going to freak out. And you just watch the tower fall and you say, oh my goodness, what just happened? In that moment, you've taught them to pause. Right there, I talk about pause, process, and respond. Our littles don't have that yet. And so we model pause, process, and respond. And that is truly the power of just being intentional with our little ones.
It is. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I think one of the reasons why parents attach so committed to the ABCs, 1, 2, 3's, colors, and numbers is because they're quantifiable.
Absolutely.
Right? We get to see the fruit of our labor and we go, oh, okay, this is working. We're meeting benchmarks. And that's what the adult cognitive brain likes.
Yes, we like to check it off.
We really do. We really do. But the way that you're describing this is lovely because there's a new set of skills in the game. Yes, they're softer skills. They're harder to quantify, but you can feel them. You know when you're in it by feeling it. And if this world needs anything, Right now, it needs to return to what it feels like to be in relationship with somebody else.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful.
It's so true. And that's why, gentle parenting is so great too, because it's about that connection piece. But then it's not just the connection, it's connection and the intention and the moments together and the play and the wiring.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's why, everything does kind of need a label. Otherwise, people don't know which way they want to go. But it's why I describe my approach as collaborative parenting.
Yes.
Because I believe that consciousness, like at its core, if you deconstruct the word, it's a solo experience. Mm-hmm. You can't consciously be connected to someone. They have to be in their conscious availability mode. And then the connection is made through collaboration. And so I want to be a team. I want to be a team with the kids in my classroom. I want to be a teammate with my children. And because my kids felt like they were part of the team, that they had a voice, and that the answer and the boundaries would often not align with their idea, but their idea was I always wanted to hear it. We were able to move through kind of those more challenging parts of emotional development that were not the toddler years, they were the tween years, right? And then the teen years were not hard in my house. And I don't know why I'm whispering that. I should be shouting it. They were not hard in my house.
Mine either.
Because we set the groundwork when they were toddlers.
But that's like the biggest secret. If we could that's the secret. If you make those first few years count, it's really just smooth sailing. And we raise daughters. I have daughters, you have daughters. Everyone's like, oh, you just wait. And it was, were there a couple bumps as to be expected. And that's how you learn and you grow and you shift, but not compared to some stories I've heard. But when you're intentional and you understand and you have just that basic roadmap without feeling so much pressure, it really makes it kind of fun, doesn't it?
It was so fun. And I have so many stories that I can't wait to get permission to share. We're a permission to post household. Yeah. Like nothing goes out to the public eye unless I get approval. Yep. Because that's part of the respectful relationship that exists between myself and my kids. And the same is true as a podcaster with stories. But someday when they are old enough and ready to release those into the world, I can't wait to share them with all of you.
You'll get that signed. Free pass, Mom. Go for it.
Go for it. Because, when your child calls you up from a public location to say, I'm thinking about making this choice and I'm really not sure if I should do it, you know that you are the most trusted person in their life. And parents, that's what Gretchen and I want you to know. Your job in the first 3 years is to make them feel like you respect them and they can trust you and they can believe your words because you lovingly follow through when you set a boundary. And if you do that and you talk about it with them, you're golden.
Easy peasy. It really is. It really is.
Yeah. And if it sounds scary and overwhelming because it's not a familiar way of interacting with people that are that much smaller than you, we get it. And it's why there's so many people out there doing what we do. And I love bringing people onto the show who serve the same population I do. There are people out there that resonate with how I teach. And there's people that resonate with how you teach. And there's people that resonate with my former guests. And I want all of you to find your person, because if all of you do that, you do the work and then you break the cycle and this generation is going to save us.
It's partnership. You had mentioned that word earlier. And it really is. Everybody wants to be seen and heard and valued and understood, even our littles. And we just need to do it in a way that is in their language. And a lot of times I'll get parents that will message me, well, Gretchen, I have been explaining to my 2-year-old for weeks now that we don't bite. Yes, I see you. I think what your intention is great, but words don't teach. Not to our littles. That's just talk therapy. They don't hear that. What they hear is play. Their language is play. Their language is, when we're connecting with them. And so you've called it a toddler tribe, and I love that. And we're all pieces of the same puzzle that are here to support and love and nurture, because let's be honest, our children depend on it. That's the future waiting for us to. You don't have to do this alone. There is a tribe out there, and we're all here to love and come alongside you. And so I love the work you're doing, and I'm very grateful. Thank you for having me as a guest. You and I can just talk for days on this.
I know. It's true.
It's just our love.
It's very special.
It is. It's very special.
It's the shared vision. And that's very important. All right. So to my amazing toddler tribe out there, if you would like to learn more about how Gretchen works with you, then just hop over to her website. We have it linked right in the show notes for you. You don't have to remember how to spell anything. Just go click a button. And be sure to, if nothing else, just sit with yourself after you turn off this podcast and ask yourself a few of these guiding questions. Find out who it is you want to be as a parent and how you want to relate to your kids, and then go seek the people that can help you do it, because Gretchen's right. This world is not going to change unless we take the reins and do something about it. So again, thank you for your time, Gretchen. We so appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you again for having me.
And to all of that amazing group out there, please, you know what to do. Stay very mindful and get proactive until our next episode as we transform the toddler years.